Please welcome Lynds.
What's up, everybody? So today we're going to go over some shoulder pressing movements. We're going to show a little bit of variations, and then we're going to go through some front delt raises, just to show you all the angles of the delt. Like we've had some rear delts showing stuff. We did side laterals the other day, so I want to kind of complete that whole cycle and finish off the delts. So this is a pin-loaded unilateral shoulder press. So with this one, basically, like I said, I want everything against the spine. I really like having everything at 90 degrees. So if I'm in like this, even with a dumbbell, you see I'm having to press. I'm so tricep dominant, I go through basically the tricep to get it up there, and it puts too much pressure on my shoulder itself. So everything at 90 is more beneficial for me, especially with my injuries. So when I come down, I stop right around the nose, ear level. Because everything's at 90, and then I'm pressing up, and I'm not going to full lockout. I'm only going to 3/4. So it's down to here, down to here. So if you go full lockout, think about the weight bearing of the exercise. So if I go full lockout, that's basically putting all the weight down through my shoulder, and now all that weight is basically sitting on my shoulder capsule and all the muscles of the rotator cuff. Same as I won't go all the way down this way. Like right now I'm light enough, it's not really doing any damage, but even that itself is a bit painful in the shoulder joint itself, just with my overlying issues. So anybody that's going beyond, down to the chest, the stretch might feel amazing, but talking from experience, I used to do that. I used to go really heavy, 4.5, 5 plates on Smith machine, shoulder press, and I used to love bringing it down to feel that stretch. And that's how I did my first rotator cuff tear. It was quite substantial. So talking from experience, going below that eye to mouth ear level is very detrimental to your shoulder joint itself. So if you're just doing it, you're lifting for a better physique, do stay in that reward column instead of creeping into the wrist column. So creeping into the wrist column is going below, going full lockout, because basically you're dropping all the weight down into the shoulder joint, and then moving your spinal column. So if I'm in here and I'm pressing and all of a sudden everything breaks and I come out, it throws the angle off of where I'm pressing, so that'll put a lot of pressure on the shoulder joint itself. Another miscue is, so you have torso, you have where you're pressing, the range of the press is another big one, and basically weight. A lot of people I was one of those guys. I did everything heavy when I was younger. Injuries has led me to kind of get over that and stop lifting with the ego, which I have mentioned numerous times in my videos. Ego lifting will just only bring injuries. So unless you're a power lifter and that's what your main thought process is, lift heavy, just don't. You're gonna injure yourself eventually one day. So this is this machine. We're gonna head on over to the Viking. I'm gonna show you some variations on that one. And eventually I'm actually gonna show you some band work that I do for mobility to help with my existing shoulder injuries, and something that you might like as well. If you look at this machine, it's a long pendulum and it goes up in this fashion. So it's not going straight up, it's gonna come out up and out. So when you lean in, when you come in, basically you're gonna stand and have everything in an upright position, okay? So I'm in the athletic stance, I'm in that like kind of lunge position. I'm gonna put one hand here, and I'm putting this right so everything is aligned. So bringing it up, making sure my spinal column is straight, and I'm not twisted this way. Everything's nice and straight. Again, at my ear level, I'm just pressing up. And I'm shoring that I'm staying in that 90 degrees. So when I come down, I'm at 90, I'm only going to 3/4. 90, 3/4. You're gonna switch. Basically just switch your legs. I always use this to brace myself. Up, tightening my core so my spine stays straight up. Another thing to think about is where your shoulder is. So when I bring this down, I don't want my shoulder coming up near my ear. So everything is, I'm dropping my shoulder down, and when I press, it stays down. So it's not coming up into my ear this way. So everything is stationary. The only thing moving is my wrist to my elbow, upward motion. There you go. Try that next time you're doing it. I showed you this machine the other day. It's the standing side lateral machine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a single arm front raise. So where you're standing in the machine this way, now I'm going to do is turn myself to a sideways position. Take a handle here. Just walk ahead just a bit. So now basically my hand is right at my hip joint. It's not in front where my hip flexor is, right at the hip joint itself. So I'm going to come straight up. When I come up, I'm angling my pinky a little bit higher, and I'm only coming to the shoulder height. I'm not going above. Constant tension, so I'm not letting that weight come back and hit that stack. So there's none of me throwing my torso in and doing this. I'm keeping everything nice and tight. For front raises, dumbbell, you can even use a plate, which I will show you in a bit as well. And you can do cables. So the big thing you want is you want everything to be tight. You don't want to have this swinging motion, and you don't want to go above. So I know a lot of the old school videos you see Arnie doing, just cranking it right above his head. I get the premise and I get the theory behind that. Just my personal preference. I'm not saying taking it, obviously it's Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's the godfather of bodybuilding, but when it comes to going above the shoulder joint, in my mind, because I've had numerous injuries, you're impeding on that joint. So you're really getting in there, and you're starting to pinch some nerve endings and stuff like that, so it will lead to some damage eventually. So unless you're a bodybuilder, you got to think about that risk to reward. So what are you doing it for? So if you're just doing it to have a better looking physique, go just to the shoulder height. You're just going to get as much activation if you stay in that tension area and not get in the whole swing. As soon as you start swinging, you're using momentum. You're not actually using the muscle for what it's tending to. You're using your body to swing. So 3/4 of that movement, or at least half of it, is momentum. And then you're catching it and you're grinding it up past here, and then you're just letting it go and letting your body swing and then back up again. So you gotta think, why are you doing it? What's the purpose? So do it for what it's purposely for. So do it to build the delt. That's the way my brain works anyways. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go over a dumbbell front raise, but I'm doing it from the seated position, so it gives you a little bit of a variation. So from a seated position, you want that shoulder girdle in the right spot. So like I mentioned in the side lateral one, so up, back, and down. Shoulders are now in the proper position. So you can start with like a pronated grip like this, or you can start in a neutral. Totally up to yourself. Easy analogy to think about is that you're pouring water. Imagine a cup. And you're pouring water basically between your feet every time. So it just activates a bit more. So if I'm coming up like this, yes, it's activated, but as soon as I turn my pinky, you get more activation, okay? So a lot of this stuff has to do with rotation. So you gotta remember, the shoulder is a rotational joint. So it doesn't just come to the side, come to the front, it rotates at the same time. So if you wanna actually activate the muscle properly, you gotta think of all of the movement. So instead of just coming out like this, but as soon as you rotate it in, it activates it even more. So having the pinky come in, or sorry, pinky, pointer finger, so the index come in a little bit further and point down activates that on delt. So it isolates it. So try that the next time you're doing it and just go slow. Go up and go thumb first if you want to. Feel what it feels like, and then do the next rep, doing it with the pouring the water out kind of between your feet thought process. You will feel a little bit of a difference and more activation in my thought process anyway, but give it a try yourself, but do it in lightweight so you don't injure yourself or do something. Always try something new with lightweight to get mind to muscle connection. Don't just grip it and rip it thinking, oh, this is what Mike said to do. Index first. Yeah, but try it out. Don't be a dummy and do it just because I fucking told you to do it. All right, so another thing I like to do, especially my shoulder days, is I like to use bands because it helps with mobility. So one particular one I like to do is put your hands underneath the band like this. You're gonna step on it, both feet. Make sure it's a lighter band. So you're gonna come up, shoulder level, and basically your fists are right in front of your shoulder, and you're opening up like a rear delt, closing, back down. Up to shoulder, open, close, back down. And the good thing with this one is you don't have to think about rep range, because it's just a mobility exercise. You will definitely feel the burn. There is no worry there, but it's kind of like a drop set. So you just keep going until your form breaks, or you can't do it effectively anymore. I'm gonna finish up the shoulder presses with the dumbbell press. So I'm not gonna go too heavy today. I'm just gonna go over really the form. So I'm doing the uprights half bench. So it kind of shows you a little bit better of like your body mechanics. So if you're even doing a longer back rest seat or something like that, don't go to full upright. So the reason why I'm saying that is when you go to full upright, if the dumbbell goes up and it wants to go back, there's no saving it. It's gone. Then there's so many issues that can happen. So my recommendation is get one that has just a slight, a really, really slight like incline backwards. So just so you're not straight at 90. So bring the dumbbell up. So again, everything's nice and upright. And bringing it down so it's at 90 degrees. And then up. So if you do this, you can right away see. I'm doing a tricep to get this off myself before I even press it up. So keep everything at a 90 degree. So when you're coming down, everything's here. So if you're going like this, just looking at my arms, like I have to do a tricep extension, bring it up. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. So if you're doing a shoulder press from here, you can bring them to the click, but you don't need to straighten your arms out. So bring it out with the click, come down. So it's more of like a diverging shoulder press movement instead of straight up and down like a barbell. So that will be my tips on a dumbbell shoulder press. In doing so, I always recommend anything with dumbbells to have a spotter, especially where when you get into free weights, there's a really high risk to injury, risk to reward. So that's why I highly recommend machines to most people, just because of it. If your shoulder capsule or you're just not strong enough to do that weight, because everyone wants to lift heavy. If it goes in a dumbbell, it goes, and there's no saving it. So that's where you're going to tear something. So I'd rather people not live the life of injuries that I've had over the past and be injury free. So that's one of the main reasons I give advice. So try that next time you're doing shoulder press. Choose one that works best for you. I always preach mind to muscle connection, so feel the movement. Keep the core nice and straight, sternum up, chest up. Don't go beyond basically the eyes and ears and mouth kind of level. Don't fully extend, so you're only going to 3/4, and keep everything at a 90 degree. So you're putting all the pressure on the joint itself. So give that a whirl next time you're doing shoulder press.